Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Motherland, Fort Salem, Episode 8. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, I was shocked. I figured we were going to get to it. I brought it up last episode. I'm like, yeah, this is probably how things are going to turn out. I wasn't expecting us to get to the reveal. Like, Rayo finds out that, like, Tally's been lying to her. Finds out about the whole, oh, you're the one that reported, Scylla to, Anacostia. And I was like, wow. We haven't even gotten to the opening credits yet. We're still in the cold opening and we're dropping this? Yo, I thought like maybe the middle of the episode. I just knew with everything that they were all dealing with, like it was going to come to a head in this episode, but I wasn't expecting it that early. You know, it's like, cause she ends up healing, the moment she's like, oh, you know, Tally's like, oh, I think my leg's broken. The moment she's like, I was like, oh boy, really? We're right here. And yep, we ended up being there. So obviously, Rael's kind of pissed, which I love her immediate reaction is like, wait, you're the one that lied about Scylla. I'm like, yeah, wait, how you going to tell her she lied? First and foremost, it's even Tally later on is like, you saw what I saw. She was talking to a balloon. But I don't, you know, but the whole thing is Rael is so in denial. I'm like, first and foremost, you're up here talking about Tally's lying and stuff like that. And even later on, the conversation is like, she was going to drop you off at a particular location. It's like, but she didn't. First and foremost, how are you going to be like, she didn't? The fact is that she was even considering it, that was her orders, should at the bare minimum make you question your entire relationship. But for her, it's like, no. She told me that people were going to lie about her. The fact of the matter is, because like to her, it's like people are already lying around. It's like, and Anacostia already knew where Scylla was the entire time. Obviously, the necro teacher told her like, Scylla's dead. Tally knew this, so it's like everyone's already kind of lying around her. So like that's why she's kind of like, no, I can't trust them because they're gonna lie, and like you kept this from me. It's like, you know, because in Tally's mind, it's like I was trying to protect you, and it's like I don't need your protection. I need Scylla back. It's like, no, you don't. Scylla's bad for you, really bad for you. So I just thought that was so interesting because, like I said, at the bare minimum, it should make you question. Her getting close to me and everything. It kind of, because the thing is, she already had so many questions about Scylla that the fact is she just kept dismissing it. There were things that Scylla did to make it so that she kept dismissing it. You had your questions about the Porter thing, but it was like, no, that had to be something else. All the questions about her, you not learning enough about it. No, I'm not worried about it. I mean, to be fair, that Helen situation kind of played into that. We'll get to that later. So, obviously, they're not the well-oiled machine they should be right now. But then the information gets leaked to Abigail. Like, wait, what? She was a spree and you brought her to my wedding? First and foremost, she didn't know she was spree. Two, she wanted to invite her to your wedding, but you said no. She showed up on her own, so that can't really be 100% on Rael. But it's like, I mean, especially considering it's like, yeah, my cousin Charvel was murdered at that, but it's like she had nothing to do with that. It's also like, yeah, but she knew what was up. Regardless of her feelings for you, she had to have known what was going to go down. And, you know, if she wanted to try to do the right thing, she could have stepped in. But it's like the only thing she cared about was her feelings for you. So once again, even up to the final minutes, she was still like, I probably should, like, even when before you were asking her to dance, it's like, we should probably get it. Like, she was looking at the clock, like, I should get you out of here. But yeah, she had her reservations and stuff like that. It still doesn't justify and take away all the terrible stuff that she's done, you know, in the pursuit of her mission. So, obviously, this is just the Citydrop thing. Like, this is their training. It's a little more real hands-on. It's like, yeah, we're going to have people here. These are our people, but they're going to be pretending to be spree, so. But obviously, like, they're recovering from, like, a mild plague that was kind of meant to, like, irritate them. And obviously, on her own, Rael, which was kind of a crappy thing. It's like you're abandoning your unit, but obviously they're tracking you down just to make sure you're okay with everything that's going on. So Rael is trying to find Anacostia, and she runs into Helen. The real Helen's like, oh, I know who you are. It's like, I've never met you. It's like, but we were on guard duty together. I've not done guard duty in years. I'm like, oh, boy. Here they go. Now the lies are starting to unravel, and Rael's like, wait, what? It's like, you know Scylla. It's like, I don't know who the hell Scylla is. And it's like, oh boy. Now the lies are starting to fall apart. So, along with that, we had Abigail and Tally get attacked. Obviously, to prepare them against the spree, it's like, okay, we're making it so that you can't use your powers. So it's hand-to-hand combat. But obviously, like, Abigail kind of goes bloodlust a little bit and just starts like pounding. Because like the last time, because to be fair, it's like you kind of like, because even you could tell like Anacostia didn't want things to go this way because it's like it's too soon. They're kind of being like rushed because like we need more boots on the ground. We need more people in this fight because the Spree are winning and we're losing more and more people every day. So it's like we need more of a like. It's like that's what this is. You need more soldiers on the ground, and you're kind of you're pushing these cadets through training, like because stuff that they shouldn't even be started on yet, they were kind of rushed to. It's like it is. I mean, we don't know how much of a time frame has passed between episode 1 to now, but it just seems like this does seem like a short amount of time. Like, yep, it's do or die, war college or not, you know, type of thing. So it's kind of like I don't know. But it definitely does appear to be kind of like a lot of this is fast track, but you can tell like it's just because they're in desperate need of someone on the grounds and stuff like that. So they're doing the Citydrop thing. But like once again, the point I was making is like Abigail is not in the best state of mind. That tragedy that happened in her family, Charvel's murder, and just like she hasn't fully recovered from that. Then you add on top of like all this new information is being dropped. It's like you kind of pick the worst possible time. Like, I mean, to be fair, like everyone in this situation, they're greenhorns. They're fledglings, and like you're kind of throwing them into the deep end immediately in more ways than one. It's like you threw them into the deep end, like oh they don't know they're barely learning how to swim, and you threw them into the deep end with the Citydrop. The mission you send them on, you full on threw them in the ocean. It's like, oh, you know how to swim a little bit? Yeah, let me throw you into the deepest parts of the ocean. Yeah, find a way to swim back. It's like, ugh, that's rough. But, like, anyone, like, because even later on, like, Liba doesn't, like, chastise her. She's just like, save that bloodlust, for the real Spree, don't waste it here. Because like you know she just like moments she's had with Abigail, you can tell it's like nah, she doesn't like, she ain't trying to start something because like she knows what Abigail's kind of going through. It's like yeah, like it's a tragedy, and so like we have not seen like the nasty back and forth that they've kind of had before. They definitely this episode entered frenemy territory, but you know right like more friends less enemies, you know. I was trying to combine rival and friends. Frivals? That's horrendous. That was terrible, but well, let's go with it for now. They were frivals. They were friend rivals, you know? A little more this episode. And they got kind of pushing at each other's back. It's like when Abigail was kind of alone and getting attacked, Liba and her people, like her unit came and backed her up. And it's like, yeah, thanks for that. It's like, yeah, no problem. And kind of like, you know, pushing each other to kind of do their best. Luckily, despite everything, Raelle ended up having Tally's back, you know, because she put the lady to sleep. Putting that to good use now, so that's pretty dope. And it's like, yeah, despite everything, it's like, between them, it's like, yeah, we did this together, so. But then we had the confrontation between, like, well, not conversation is the right word I should be using. Raelle between, like, Helen and Anacostia. It's like, we found out recently that the Spree had the ability to make themselves look. It's like, why would they want to, like, talk to me? It's like, well, what did you talk about? It's like, well, Helen, at least I thought it was Helen, convinced me to give Scylla another chance. It's like, oh, so I was convincing you to be in a relationship with her. Yeah, just because I had some questions about her. And it's like, and then Anacostia is like, is there a possibility she had anything to do with Porter's death? And then it starts clicking in Raelle's, because, like, now, like, her defense of her has kind of dwindled a little bit. Because Abigail was going after Tally for a little bit, too, because it's like, you should have told me. It's like, and what would you have done? Like, the fact is that I told you. Like, I told Anacostia, and she told me to keep my mouth shut about it. Like, I was following orders. But I think it's the thing of, like, we're a unit. Like, you should have told me. Like, once again, she had no direct correlation, connection in regards of, like, she's the one that actually killed Charvel. It's nothing like that, but she was still involved. Like, once again, it could have just been a thing of she knew about her mission. Maybe she had no idea what the other's mission was. We don't fully know how the Spree operates. Like, you would assume they're a cell, but, like, her operations might be a little different from theirs. It's like, you're probably not supposed to be in the know. I mean, she had to know because she was going to the wedding for a very specific reason, so maybe she still had her part to play. You know, once again, it's a direct, indirect, like, connection to everything that went down at that Bellwether wedding and everything. So, but obviously, it's like I said, Raelle's kind of like slowly piecing it together, because now it's like all the questions she had about Porter, it's like, okay, and now like all the questions now that she realized it was Scylla pointing her in a direction to pull away from like asking too many questions. It's like on both fronts. It's like it made her kind of. She's like, just tell me this isn't. It can't be true, you know. And Acostia is just kind of, you know, can't. You know, it's like, yeah, this sadly is, you know, this is what it is. You know, it's like she told me she loved me, and Acostia is like, she told you what you needed to hear. Because the sad truth at the end of the day is, once again, she did fall for her. Like, Scylla actually does love Rael, but it didn't start that way. It did eventually grew in that, but it was simply like, it was my mission to get close to you, but I do legitimately have strong feelings for you now. But to be fair, it's like, that doesn't matter what your feelings are. It's like knowing that basically our entire relationship is based on a massive lie, that you were going to take me and like try and hand me over to the spree. It's like, you know, and obviously like all of this is going down. Like, obviously, you know, Sarah sent some people in to infiltrate the armory, but the armory blows up just as some like trucks leave, and it's like, why would they blow up that factory? The armory, they don't need it anymore. They've got all like whatever they're manufacturing, what turns out to be like explosive mines. It seemed like it was going to be massive collateral damage with what these mines were powered up to do. And so it's like, right, we don't have any units close enough to deal with this, because our closest units just got killed in that explosion. And then Sarah's like, well, there's the cadets. It's like the Citydrop. It's like, wait, they're not ready for this. Like, come on. But Sarah's like, we don't have any choice. And like, are you disobeying orders? Like, no. And the other lady being like, I hope you know what you're doing. Especially considering like, right, like that's the general who lost her daughter. So like, of course, like she's going to feel it. Well, once again, I'm throwing out general, but I don't know. She might be a lieutenant. Like, once again, I'm terrible with like military rankings and stuff like that. But because I'm also kind of terrible with names. Because I think last episode I was calling that lady Wick. I don't think her name's Wick. I think she's well, I think that lady I was thinking was Wick is Isadora. I think I was seeing from the subtitles. Once again, I'm always doing that with the wrong names and stuff. Like, I'm terrible with names. Like, I have to repeat stuff over and over again and associate it with people's faces and everything to like let it solidify. Regardless, tangents and all that aside, it's like she kind of sends the information gets sent to Anacostia, and it's like, right, she's like, all right, ladies, we're going into a real combat situation. We need to this is no drill. Like, the fact is, we're gonna stop some trucks, because as they're heading to the airport, the fact of the matter is these it's up to us to stop them. Like, no spree survives. Let's get this done, you know. And obviously, like, you have Glory throwing up, because it's like, wait, we just went through what we went through, some combat situations, and now it's like, it's real. It's like, yeah, everyone's terrified. And so on the plane, like, obviously, you know, Libba and Abigail had their moment, which, you know, is kind of like, yeah, thanks for having me. Oh, you're welcome. Because she was like, because Abigail complimented her. It's like, yeah, your unit was actually pretty good out there because of your leadership. And it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's up to the leader to look after the weak or stuff like that. Abigail bedwetter, and just like, okay, like, they're back and forth. But also, like, in that moment, like, Tally, like has Rael's hand, and it's like, they kind of just nod towards each other without saying anything, and then, like, go over to touch Abigail, and Abigail's like, I know. Because it's a situation where it's like, let's kind of clear the air, like, I know we're not in a, but it's like, because this would potentially be a life-threatening situation, like, we could die, so, like, I think they want to kind of have clear air between them, so... And obviously, Anacostia is trying to make Rael feel better, because it's like, why did they even want me? It's like, because they wanted you. You know why they wanted you? Because you're strong. She's like, I don't feel strong. You're a lot stronger than you kind of give yourself credit for, you know. So, but obviously, you know, they drop in, and obviously they stand in like that powerful like V formation. It's like, all right, the truck is coming. All right, get ready. And, like, you see somebody running. Like, I don't know if they just, like, straight up ran. But obviously another person tried to move. And then Lebo was like, no, stand, and steady. And then, like, they all, like, knock the truck off course. And Rael goes chasing after her. It's the actress who played Light in Snowpiercer. And obviously she tried to, like, disguise herself as Scylla. I'm like, you picked in the past, maybe that could have worked in some shape or form. Yeah, like, she knows, like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's still, like, it's enough of a mind game to distract her so you could get close to her. I don't know if you would have killed her, because it seems like you kind of... once again, like, I don't know if that was their leader or another member of their cell that came to visit Scylla like a couple episodes ago, so that might be like a separate thing of like they might not know about Scylla. They know enough to like use Scylla against her, so it's like they had to be in the know. So that person had to be from their cell or whatever. Not unless that person was in the back of the truck. Like I didn't like they did show us some of the faces in the back of the truck because you also don't know. Like some of those people could have been in disguises too. So that's a whole thing. But it's like, oh, it's really me. It's, yeah, but it's like, nah, you picked the worst time because she's super pissed at like Scylla right now, so she ends up like attacking her. It's like, nah, I got you. Like, you know, everything about you is a lie. She's like, we are the spree, and she attacked. It didn't seem like she killed her, like just because of what she was. But I guess it's like, I guess the blow was enough to kill her, or at the very least knock her out. But I'm assuming it's like, nah, I'm gonna kill you thing. Maybe it wasn't, you know. Because they had this whole conversation about, like, obviously it's like, oh, like, combat situations. Because, like, when, like, Abigail, like, went off on, it's like, right, in real combat, like, yeah, you captured or whatever, but it's like, your actions represent the U.S. military. So you going off like that, because that could also turn into an ugly situation of, like, now that the enemy's been stopped, you going like above and beyond. It's like, oh, shooting like an enemy that's surrendered and like is disarmed, and you keep shooting. It can borderline look like that, I think, to a certain extent. At least what Abigail did. So it's kind of like we're supposed to conduct ourselves a certain way, which is kind of an interesting aspect to the whole episode. Especially that part of things, because it's like, all right, here's the next truck, but then Tyler's like, I see the spree, but also they got hostages too, and obviously that gets brought to Sarah, but Sarah's like, the mission hasn't changed, and Anastastia's like, oh, and she's trying to make Tyler, no, you're not seeing what you're seeing. She's like, but it's like, there's word from the general herself, and it's like, and at that moment, Tyler's kind of like, the general like kind of wants it, so like when the time comes, it's like, because basically they need to grind it so that all the spree as well as the weapon is destroyed with the, you know, with their wind shear. So they all come together, and in that moment, Tao doesn't do it. You can tell she stands by. Obviously, Abigail kind of got knocked out, but then it was like, yeah, not everybody made it. And I was like, it had to be Liba. I knew immediately, because I was like, because they set it up, because they're like, oh, Liba and her in good place right now. You know, like that 200 years of bad blood between the Swipes and the Bellwethers were kind of like coming to an end with this generation in this moment. And just to have that kind of taken away, and it's like, her, like, just when they were on good terms, she's like, get up, Swipe, you have to. And, you know, Anacostia holding her and being like, it's okay, you have to let her go, you know? It's like, she's had to, like, see too many people. She had to watch, you know, Charvel be killed, had to lose, you know, Libba like this, like, you know. And now it's like, you know, at the very least, it's like, you know, Rael being like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, it's kind of a dumb question, but like the fact is, we're all still here, and it's like, well, at least Libba died an honorable hero, and it's like, was it honorable? And Tal tells him, it's like, there were hostages, and it's like, no, Alder wouldn't like do that, like, but it's like, yeah, because the argument could be because the spree have been going on doing their thing. It's like, it's so interesting because like, that other person was saying like, oh, we need to take more drastic measures, to the point where letting civilians, like, I'm sure that's going to be a whole thing, but it's like doing whatever's necessary to kill the spree because they've been doing so much damage recently. It's like, we need a victory, especially because like, I mean, maybe there could have been another way. Like it was such short notice. It's a situation where you're also making these kids responsible for killing all those civilians. Granted, they didn't know at the time. Tao was the only one, and it's like, that guilt is enough to riddle anyone. But like to have that knowledge that sucks. Like to have that knowledge of like, right, you didn't just stop these people, you also killed, and it's like, we'll find a way forward. Is kind of what Abigail was saying. Like, we'll find some way forward together through all this. Anacostia confronts Sarah, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry about the late notice, and it's like, I understand, decisions had to be made type of thing, but as for the civilian things, it's like, she's like, I'm gonna make a statement soon and stuff like that, and Anacostia is just like upset with her, because it's like, right, you made not only me, but my cadets complicit in it. Let me get back to my cadets, because also one of her cadets didn't make it through. It's like, you threw us in the deep end too quickly. I get the circumstances, but it's like, you threw fledglings. You threw these cadets into harm's way doing this, and one of them didn't get to come home. There's going to be a family that doesn't get to have their daughter home, like, under these circumstances. If it's on the battlefield, it's one thing, but these cadets shouldn't be in a situation where they were thrown into this battlefield just yet. They weren't ready. You know, and even though Anacostia was like, yeah, I believe you were ready, it's also like, I'm sure she had, like, still had her doubts and reservations on, right, this is a lot to kind of throw at you, but through your training, I know you're ready. At the very least, was hopeful that they were. So, obviously, you know, Adil is still there, which I'm so surprised. I was like, oh, I thought, like, especially how everything went down between your sister and, Sarah, she wouldn't, I thought you guys would have left, but he's still here, and he's there to kind of, you know, comfort Abigail. And Abigail said, like, yeah, someone once told me that, you know, I'm very, ignorant of, what's going on in the world. She's like, now I'm a little less. And he's like, yeah, the person who said that to you is an idiot. But the sad thing is, like, this opened her eyes in many you know, it's like, these recent events have changed her perspective on a lot of stuff, because it's like, this is the first time, like, she lost, that was probably the first time she had actually seen someone she cared about murdered, like, in the case of, like, Charvel, and then, like, to have someone that, you know, is kind of like a fellow sister to be going like that. It's like, you know, this is someone, like, you've come to know, like, you've known for a long time, too, to be going, like, it makes it unreal, like, especially because it's like, she didn't, especially now knowing she didn't have to die, just because, like, there's a lot of other contributing factors now, knowing, like, oh, there were civilians above this, it's a lot. So, and especially doesn't help when Sarah's going on TV doing a good old political spin. Because it's like, oh, your last thing you want the country to know is you killed a whole bunch of civilians. They already look at what some of the people in the country already look at which is a certain way because of the spree and everything. So you add on to that, like, finding out, like, oh, you're responsible for killing a whole bunch of civilians. I'm not quite sure. The way she was painting it, it was basically like, yeah, they killed the civilians. So the only ones who know the truth are Anacostia, Rael, Tally, and Abigail. Because I think the others are under the impression, like, we destroyed that weapon and the truck. Yeah, but the fact is, they probably think, like, oh, the civilians were already dead. But those four know the truth. Well, and Sarah as well, that they were still alive. Well, not just them, like, obviously the people that were in the room also know, like, oh, so let's make, like, 7 people that know the truth about that, which that's definitely going to come up later on about, like, Sarah's decision making and stuff like that. Yeah, because it comes from a desperation, because it's like, yes, it was a desperate situation, but also it's kind of like, you can make the argument, it's like she kind of needed a win, and this makes her look like, oh, we had a win. So it's like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, like, the spree were doing their thing. It's like, technically the spree hadn't done anything terrible yet. Yes, they were about to, but they hadn't quite, like, she made it seem like, oh, they had done something terrible and horrible. Well, I guess the argument could be like, right, they blew up the armory and killed some people. So, like, because I think they were saying there were civilians inside there too, because it was like just a regular factory that they were occupying. They don't mind sacrificing human lives. They don't care. But I'm sure that's also a thing too of, like, right, what makes us so different from the spree if we're just killing civilians, like, regardless of them being hostages, regardless of, like, once again, maybe there would have been another way of handling this. It's hard to say. There wasn't a lot of time, but it's like maybe we could have found a different way to handle this, but maybe you couldn't take the chance, because that device going off, it would have killed a lot of people, caused a lot of devastation. So, but now it's like, especially like Abigail and Tal, I think this is shaking their beliefs in everything, because, like, they so hard, especially Tally, she believed wholeheartedly in this, and now it's like her eyes are kind of being a little open. Abigail as well. Rael kind of didn't always like Sarah anyway, and just, like, a lot of this she wasn't a fan of, so this probably just reconfirms a lot of stuff she was already feeling, hence why I was saying, like, her mind is definitely in a position where it could have been molded to not fully support the spree, but it, like, certain ideology could, like, sway certain aspects of her mind. She would never fully sway to their side, but, like, I think certain aspects could have, like, in what they believe, like, she kind of can resonate with, but it would have never fully pulled her over, because she would never support, like, the mass amount of casualties and death that they cause, you know? Especially because, like, the civilians, it's like, yeah, her dad's a civilian, so it's like, she would never look at people as, like, less than or something, you know? So, that's just an interesting aspect. I'm really curious to kind of see where like our trio, like what their perspective on things is going to be going forward, like continuing, you know, basic training and war college, like now that their eyes have been open to the real world, like, you know, let's face it, it's like some of that innocence got stripped away this episode. A lot, not just some, a lot of their innocence got stripped away. It's been little by little to a certain extent, but now it's like, this was kind of a full example, like, right, kind of seeing the real world for what it is. You know, it's like, oh, things aren't so black and white, and you realize, like, oh man, like, what lines kind of get crossed. And once again, Sarah making her spin on everything, being like, yeah, but we did good, but it's like, we know we killed civilians, that the spree didn't do it, we did it. So that's a whole thing within itself. So there's a lot to consider, because I'm curious Anacostia too, like how she feels about things, because like, I mean, obviously it's just kind of sad that things were what they were. Like she's no trained soldier is going to walk away from this being 100% okay. It's just kind of like she regrets that things did turn out the way it is, but it is a thing of, right, I followed the orders. It was just kind of no time, but it's still like, once again, you put me and my cadets in that position, and I lost the cadet in the process. It's just, a lot went wrong in that operation. Lives were saved, but it's also like, it's like, yeah, we kind of got a victory against the spree. We just destroyed some leadership, and it's like, well, did you? Like, are you 100% sure? Like, because once again, not unless she was in disguise, but I didn't, I mean, or maybe she was there and I just didn't notice, but like I said, she could also have been in disguise. The person who actually came to Rael, the person who came to Scylla about Rael, like, she wasn't amongst them, like I said, that we're aware of. So that's still not the case. Once again, because we still don't know the full, like, they have an idea of the infrastructure of how the cells and everything work, but maybe there's a little more complexity to it than they kind of give it credit. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.